Happy Hump Day. Welcome to the abbreviated session of the morning hookup. Bill Hooks, Elijah Herbal.
We got 36 minutes on the clock.
36 minutes. You know we have a Husker legend sitting beside me?
Hey, we can go overtime too today.
Yes. What is 36 minutes?
Oh, my goodness.
Tea in the house.
What's up, fellas? What's up, Elijah?
Good to see you.
What's up, Bill? Yeah, glad to be here.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody, hanging out and joining us this morning, coming off the Lincoln Lutheran win.
Dominant Lincoln Lutheran.
Yeah. So
they're the one seed for a reason.
They are. Moti and Team Malone brought you that game.
Hey.
Congratulations. Because I didn't hear all the final stats. But yesterday we talked about one of Lincoln Lutheran's players. You got to hear this.
Oh,
talk about those stats and how we did today.
He had a great day today. He had 27 points for Lutheran. Lutheran won 64-26. So they really pulled away late. It was somewhat close early.
It was like 10-4 in the first quarter, right?
Yeah.
And then the offensive just started going.
The offense exploded. Dutzman exploded. He leads Lincoln Lutheran in points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, field goal percentage, free throw percentage, second in three-point percentage.
Are you kidding me? How big is this kid?
He's like 6'5", I think.
Yeah.
6'5".
I had a nephew. Johnny's stepson is Tyler. Tyler played for Lincoln Lutheran. I went to a game and watched him play, and I remember him hitting the shot to put it in overtime. And I think they might have won. I think they won that game. So it's good to see them. I'm sure they're down there. I know Johnny's down there. He's been texting me all morning. He's going to be there every day, all day. So
every day, all day.
Yeah, but congratulations to Lincoln Lutheran. That's good stuff.
And Dutzman, I think, had 25 points through the first three quarters,
wow.
And they subbed him out pretty early in the fourth quarter. He hit a ridiculous double clutch step back three to close out the third quarter, and that was really curtains. That made it, I think, 50-16 at the end of the third quarter.
He had a couple of dunks too, didn't he?
So I heard somebody had
I heard something. Yeah.
He did not have a dunk.
Okay.
Because he had the one-on-none fast break, and he lost his dribble and had to kind of float it up and lay it in before he went out of bounds. So the whole crowd was ready to explode for the dunk, and he kind of lost the dribble. So he had to lay it in.
They get it done, so they'll advance to Friday at 9:00 coming up, and it'll be right here on KFOR.
They await the winner of, I believe, Cozad and Ashland Greenwood, which is a game that'll be going here in about 30 minutes.
You're correct, but there are also going to be more games on here today, right?
Plenty more. We got Class A coming your way tonight here on KFOR. 6 o'clock, we got the rematch between Lincoln Southwest and Westside. Lincoln Southwest went up to Omaha, took down Westside in the district final. Westside gets in on the wild card. So you get the rematch in the opening round there as Westside looks to avenge it. Southwest looks to prove why they were the team that won the district. And then tonight, Lincoln on Lincoln, we have North Star against Southeast. Nightcap 7:45 here on KFOR. Chris Schmidt will be on the call for both of those games.
Full day of high school hoops right here. Nothing like it in the great city. Again, we got myself, Elijah, we got Henry T. Buchanan. Let's just talk. We're going to go into a lot of Husker. There's a lot of Husker news that has been happening, and we're going to get to as much as we can while we're on the air for the next 30 minutes. But I want to start off with a story because T is everywhere, by the way. The guy's he's been on with us for 5+ years now. Yeah. We know that I don't know if he owns other clothes. We don't know. It's to be determined. But he's everywhere. You can all the way if you are downtown tonight at PBA, he'll be there. So say hi to T because he'll be in red, gray, or black.
So he's supporting West Side.
We don't know. It'll say Nebraska.
I'm kidding.
Okay, so look for T. He'll be making his way down there. But I had a buddy text me because T loves all Husker athletics, by the way. I had a buddy that said, hey, you need to ask T about Sunday being at the Husker softball game.
You made it down to Husker
softball game.
It's a good win.
And one of my buddies, good buddy, a president of the soccer organization, by the way, was at the doing concessions. You got to meet him.
Yeah, absolutely. And the good part about that is one of my good friends, Richard Boland's daughter, Olivia, plays for South
Dakota. Go up a name like Boland, saying like you're somebody.
But he played football back in the day. He played football back in the day for UNL, and he's a Husker, and his son Olivia plays for South Dakota State. But the night that I was there that night too. I was there 2 nights in a row. They were playing. Who was the team they were playing? Northern Colorado, I do believe. And I was interested in seeing this Jordy play. And she didn't pitch. She pitched the second night, but she didn't pitch that night. She played first base. The second night she did pitch. She pitched the whole game. And it went in extra innings. Yeah. It was her her wind up and her preparation is second to none. Everybody else is, they got their little stance, but she got some little flip it to the side and brings it. Oh, yeah, it's fun to watch. And of course, Keith Zimmer, I always talk about him and Dennis LeBlanc. Dennis was of course, in Arizona for the baseball. He travels with the baseball team. So I got a chance to talk to Keith Zimmer and one of my good friends, Jill Grinsman. She's the score clock. She keeps the score clock for the men's basketball and women's at times, but full time for men's. And she does softball. So she was there with Keith Zimmer and got a chance. And I kept sneaking into their little room up there to stay warm because I'm not used to it. It gets a little chilly here still at night. So I was crying like a baby.
Oh, that's good stuff. Again, tees everywhere.
That softball, you talked about it going to extra innings. Thriller of a game.
Yes.
Abby Squire, 2 home runs, including that big one in the bottom of the 8th to send it to the 9th. Love the Squire family. So it was good to see that one. Got to see Jordy pitch.
Yes.
What a game that was.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm glad she's back home.
She's having a great season. I think
she's
the other day she recorded she got the first strikeout of the game on the mound. Then she comes up, she hits a home run to get this thing started.
Yes.
They're off to a great start. Elijah, let's talk real quick as well. Last night we've talked Husker baseball and we've been a little disappointed. How about a midweek performance from your Nebraska baseball team?
Mm-hmm.
Got good pitching on the bump. The bats got going, 10 runs on 8 hits last night. That's a little momentum right there. If you can go out and get it tonight.
You got to do in the midweek. It's as simple as that. You got to do in the midweek. You can't afford to drop those games in the Big Ten. I guess once the Big Ten slate starts up, those midweek games are a chance to get some of those younger arms some reps, get them some time on the bump. Can't afford to lose them. Nebraska took care of business last night, especially with the way the season started as well. The midweek was the big issue last year. Felt like throw together a good weekend, and then here comes Kansas State or Wichita State or Omaha or Creighton to beat you by 10. So that's a positive start to the midweek slate for Nebraska.
If you look at just some of the highlights of this, Case Sanderson, by the way, setting the table multiple times last night. 3 walks and a hit, reached base 4 times. Devin Nunez, how about that?
He's a great story.
How about that? Great story. He goes 3 for 5 with 5 RBIs last night.
And is he batting over 400 on the year after that game last night? He was right on that line. He was batting about 390 heading into that game last night.
He has to be. We'll take a peek at that. Also on the bump last night, how about Carson getting it done? 5 innings, get you a good quality start from a guy that throws absolute gas. 5 innings, only 2 hits, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. Okay.
And then Clevenger comes out of the bullpen.
1 2/3, only gives up a hit, 1 run, and 1 walk. He also records. Our staff recorded 14 strikeouts last night.
Did Monte Cristo's son play?
Drew had a great outing on Sunday for the Huskers, so he was getting some rest. Based on how he did on Sunday, I think you might be penciling him in for now to be a weekend starter. So
awesome.
Kind of took some of his lumps early in the Husker career. He seems like he's getting things figured out on the bump, getting that breaking ball working. He always had the fastball, but getting that breaking ball working just a little bit. That's positive if Nebraska can lock him in as a Sunday guy moving forward.
If these are updated, no, they're not updated yet. I would assume he's over 400. Right now, these are go back a few days. This was March 9th stats.
Okay.
He was at 379. One would assume that is starting to get real close.
How do you 600 on a Tuesday night? You'll take that.
No big deal. They'll be back at Haymarket Park again tonight, 6 o'clock.
Awesome.
Sending another TJ Coach will go to the bump tonight and hopefully get a good, I believe, a solid. You get 2 back. If you get back-to-back wins against the Shockers, that's a noticeable regional 2 wins.
Correct from wrong here. I think it's going to be his first start as a Husker.
Yep,
I believe tonight. So
there is. I believe he's already seen like 2 innings so far. I believe
there's some pressure there, especially in front of the home crowd. But you hope you get the best out of him.
Yeah. So positive news there last night. Well, let's jump in a little hoops, man. Obviously,
you've been putting it off, huh?
I did. No, I think there's great conversation around this because I think it's real easy right now to bag on this team and bag on the coach. It really is. And again, we're all disappointed. Fanship, we're disappointed.
Yep.
Right. It's not that it's over. Right. It's the way it got to this point where you finish 5-12 your last 17, you lose 5 straight. You end up not going to get over the hump in a lot of these games, but Elijah, you and I have had this conversation, and T a little bit is the difference in what you've seen is that Fred. There's the conversation. Fred the coach versus Fred the GM.
Yes.
Is where we're at with this. And what's next steps for Nebraska to invest into basketball?
We did hear from Fred on the radio network. I have that clip pulled if we want it at some point.
Absolutely.
But he made a promise to Husker fans saying, essentially, this team this year was close. It wasn't good enough, couldn't close out games, but he promised Husker fans that they'll do everything in their power to get things right and make sure this team's back in the tournament next year.
Yes, and I totally agree. And, I talked to Coach Hoiberg, after the game, and, not actually conversation, but we text back and forth. And I told him, yes, it's disappointing, but, and I still believe in this team. And, when you go on a 6-game losing streak and a 5-game losing streak, and out of those 11 games, 9 of them won possessions that we had opportunities to win, it's a tough pill to swallow, because we're knocking on the door to end up NCAA, and not to have that opportunity was, definitely disappointing, for the coaching staff and the players, and I know the fans, and I've been hearing from some of the fans and the disappointment. But you just got to understand, this is what college basketball is all about: the highs and lows. And now it's how you now it's basically how you're going to recover from this and see what we can do next year. But when you talk about the future, Nebraska basketball, and I'm talking to the donors, and I'm talking to the boosters, and I'm talking to the board of trustees, the board of directors, whoever want to listen. If you want to compete at a high level, we're going to have to share some of the wealth. And I know we want the football program back to the glory days, and I see that. But you still have a lot of other sports out there that are competing well, with your wrestling and your women's basketball, your women's softball, your track and field, the wrestling, the bowling. You got all these sports out there, swimming, that needs a piece of the pie. Volleyball is holding its own. Nebraska kind of holds its own, from the standpoint of the budget, and I don't think we're losing money there. But when you talk about the NIL and what I'm hearing other schools and what they're paying players, we've had opportunities to get players like a Chucky Hepburn that was his asking price, let's be honest, was $750,000.
First team All ACC this year.
Yeah, first team All ACC. Hunter Salas, first team All ACC. Both Husker kids would have came here, but we don't have the money to pay them. And I read an article, James Harden, a preliminary, just an outstanding professional NBA player who played at Arizona State, is going to give them millions to their basketball program to bring the best. And it's not about the facilities no more, fellas. It's about money. I heard the coach for Connecticut interview basically just said, my team's going to be different next year. There's people knocking on each and every one of my players, offering more money that we're willing to give them. So we got to bring a new roster. It's going to be a new roster on every college basketball team. So that's where we're at. But so we can, like you said, Bill, we can jump on the bandwagon of bashing Coach Hoiberg and his staff and the players and what have you. That's not what it's about. It's about, okay, we got to move on. I know it just happened. We got to prepare for next year. How are we going to compete in the Big Ten and with these Power 5 schools? The only way we're going to compete with these guys is with donations, funds, and building up that NIL. Creighton doesn't have football. Everything goes to Creighton basketball, and most of these schools, Louisville, all these basketball powerhouses, money goes to their program over football. So that's kind of where I'm at. And anybody that's willing to listen.
Yeah. It comes down to using the resources well too. And that's where and that's not me bashing on Fred, but that's got to be, if you're going to go out and pay someone, as you say, $750,000, $800,000, $1 million in the portal,
you better land.
You got to be paying the right guys. Yeah. That comes down to the evaluation, but you got to have the money to pay those guys as well. I mean, you can't have a guy ready to sign on the dotted line, then he goes and takes a visit off somewhere else and sees the trophy case and sees the offer and says, well, I love Nebraska, but it's not the spot for me because there's other places. I mean, Nebraska has, as you talk about, the facilities, the fan support. maybe not as much the history of some of these other programs, but they have the things that guys are looking for aside from what the money is. You got to go out and pay the right guys, and you got to make sure that the value that you assign to them is similar to what other programs around the country are valuing them. And whenever it comes to talking to the donors, you got to make sure the donors are willing to pay up for those guys.
Well, I have no doubt in my mind, Chucky, Hunter, and even Kanji.
I would say William Kyle.
William Kyle.
And William Kyle. Yeah. All four of those guys would have benefited the University of Nebraska.
Look at how many guys around college basketball are from Nebraska. You look at Latrell Wrightsell down at Alabama.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
St. Thomas at USC.
St. Thomas at USC, Tanji at Wisconsin, William Kyle at UCLA, Salas at Wake Forest, Chucky Hepburn at Louisville. All guys that you look at and say, man, they would have filled a spot that Nebraska really needed this year. Each and every one of those guys, every single one of them would have filled a need for this Husker basketball team as you saw some of the issues rise up down the stretch.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. I loved our team. I still love our team. You know, and I honestly believe, you know, I sent a text to one of my good friends and my question was, did we underachieve or did we overachieve? Which one was it? I mean,
it's interesting when you look at, I mean, you can look backwards now and go, the roster we had, maybe
in comparison, because when I made my prediction after watching these kids, and I still stand by it, I felt that we had a full roster with a lot of depth. This is before I saw the other Big Ten teams play. And as I start watching these other Big Ten teams play in comparison to what we had in our roster, I had to back off a little bit. And when I backed off, it was more like, you know, we got to be playing almost a borderline perfect game to beat these guys, because these guys were bringing it. I mean, you got Rutgers with two top three picks. Two of the top three picks are on one team, freshmen. Think about that. You know, you got the freshman from Maryland, first team all. And speaking of, congratulations to Bryce Williams.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being first team all conference, you know, that's one of our bright spots. And, you know, I know Gary needs to be there somewhere, either on the defense side or something. But anyway, congratulations to him. But just think about it. The freshmen, you know, the 2 7-footers at Michigan State's full roster, you know, think about the teams that we have to compete against day and day. And now these teams are going to look different next year just as well as we are.
They all are.
So we just need to prepare for it, and we just got to keep up with everybody else. And it starts with NIL. It ain't transfer portal. It's not even transfer portal no more. It's the NIL.
Mm-hmm.
Where you have the money to offer these kids, and their asking price. Because these kids got agents, and most of these universities are hiring professional GMs. I know you and I talked about that. We need it because our NIL guy, I remember he came and talked to us at our alumni banquet a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago. What kind of basketball background do you have? You know, you just collect money. Well, what do you know about you? Okay, maybe that's fine. You can keep up with the money, but let's get somebody in there that's a basketball, now has the knowledge and can scout and see talent and who's worth what. So the coaches don't have to do it. Coach Hoiberg doesn't have to do it.
And it's a real factor here. And I do quickly want to go back just a half second to Rutgers basketball because you brought them up. I think they really underscore what the trend is in Division I basketball today. They have 2 top 3, if not top 5 picks in this upcoming year's NBA draft. They finished the year 15-16.
Yeah.
It's the reality. Like, you're not going out and getting these high-level freshmen. I think they're going to start going more and more to the G League because they don't have a spot in college basketball anymore. The value guys are the guys you can go get in the portal, the guys with 3 years of experience. They've picked it up. They've played at some mid-major school, gotten the experience, and now you come up and you're going to play high-level Division I basketball for a year or two. That's the future of basketball because that's where you get your value out of guys. You're not getting value paying these 5-star guys anymore because you don't have time to wait for these guys to develop. That's the reality of college basketball right now.
And that's what Rick Pitino told you.
Yes, 100%. And you see what St. John's is doing this year.
Well, they got C.J. Wilcher's little brother. That's playing well.
But again, it took him. Seaman had a chance to develop before this, and I think what Rick Pitino pretty much said: I'm not going after these 5-star friends. I'm going in the portal.
Yeah,
I'm getting seasoned dudes.
Yeah,
I'm going to allocate the money there.
It took Simeon 3 years. I think he's in year 3 right now.
Yeah.
Before he really started to make a difference. That's what college basketball is now. You can wait for 3 years with your high level recruit, or you can go get a ready-made guy out of the portal.
I'm still mad at Simeon.
That's the reality right now.
Me
And,
too.
and when you get
Well,
these
he was
ready-
committed to the right school first.
and when you get these ready-made guys out of the portal, you have to be right, because there's the reality in a locker room right now that you're going to sit around and look around and say, that guy's making how much?
Mm-hmm.
If a guy's not living up to his paycheck, you have that professional aspect of guys going to look around and say, I'm making this much. I think I'm more impactful than you are, and you're making double what I'm making.
Case in point, Arizona State. I know for a fact last year their 3 top recruits never visited the campus. They just got paid. And look how their season ended.
Mm-hmm.
So you're paying these guys off of a whim based on reputation, and sometimes you just can't go off of AAU.
Mm-hmm.
Because AAU that's just, you must go out to the park and watch kids play, in my opinion.
Again, we're speaking of Husker legend Henry T. Buchanan. I want to ask you this question straight. I'm not calling anybody out. I just want to get a straight basketball knowledge question right here, because you mentioned this, and it was in the Iowa game because you were there, and I think we've seen this throughout the Big Ten when we're playing them. The want to try hard guys versus the true athletic guys, because I'm not dogging their team. I like their team as well, but I think that is a difference in the GM this year, is that we've got 1, 2, and try hard guys. Mm-hmm. We do not have the top end of athleticism.
Yes,
and that cost us in a lot of games.
And just to add to that, and I totally agree with you, because we talk about we need to get more athletic, but people don't understand when you talk about athletic. And when we talk about athletic, we're talking about folks who can defend.
You can switch it all 5.
We can switch it all 5. They can rebound. They can shoot. They're fast. They're quick. They're strong.
They got those good twitchy muscles. Man.
Yes. That when I've seen rosters, look at Maryland's roster, even USC for that matter. Look at these rosters, and looking at Oregon. Minnesota. Look at their roster. How they're built. They're built with guys that drink steroids, daily. Seriously, that's the way they're
figuratively, not literally.
Yes, absolutely. And they can play.
Mm-hmm.
They're just. You remember we used to talk about the all airport team?
Yep.
No, these guys are the all airport team. Plus, they can play.
You mentioned just Iowa.
Yes.
How athletic they were.
Yes. And not only athletic, I was there up close and personal. And I got to talk to the ticket office because I'm sitting behind the Iowa bench with Iowa fans. So I'm going to have a talk for next year. But
put a baby in a corner.
Yes. But I was on the 7th row. I could see it all. And the skill level that those Iowa players have was stunning to me. Just from a basketball IQ, their savviness, their ball handling, their shooting, how they get the shots off, the movement, how they play defense. They made you work. Now, they did take Bryce out the game because that was their strategy. Take Bryce out the game, double, triple team, and get the ball out of his hand. Don't let him touch the ball, and let the other guys beat us. That's exactly what that was, and that's what happened. And unfortunately, our guys were not prepared to step up for that, and we didn't prepare for that. I didn't see them, but we probably should have after he dropped 43 the game before. So yes, I didn't think they were going to play that tough a defense on him because I thought that they were worried about Connor's shooting and Gary's penetration and what just Burkeview maybe came out of his slump from off his injury. So it worked, and it worked. But I'm still proud of what the kids did. What this team accomplished this year. And the question still hasn't been answered. Did they underachieve or overachieve? We don't know because they were in so many close games, and it's a tough conversation. I've been down, because I was expecting us to go to the Big Ten tournament and in NCAA. I was getting my tickets, my flight prepared and everything, and I'm fired up.
I got pictures from last year about this time of the year when I was had a few beverages and made the decision to fly to Memphis.
Yes, yes, we had that nice some barbecue that
Yeah, we did. Ooh.
Oh, and that wasn't even at one of their top
No.
establishments.
We
That
just
was like a local.
We found the first place for ribs
And
and a
it was
beverage that we could find.
your ribs look better than mine. Still, I'm still mad about that. I don't know what you got.
I do no sauce on them.
Well,
I do no sauce.
It
on the
is
side.
funny. We're a year later, and we're still talking about some of the same issues with this Husker basketball program, where you're lacking athleticism. I mean, the point guard that's played this year wasn't up to snuff. Like, you're looking for somebody. Last year, at least, you had an occasional secondary score where Jamarcus Lawrence would step up, Wilcher would step up, and fill the void behind Casey and Bryce. But like, you were looking for a secondary guy this year. It's some of the same issues, and those guys are there to be had in the portal. You got to nail your evaluation. You got to make sure once you get that guy evaluated that you're able to make it worth his while to sign on the dotted line.
Well, the only way you're going to make it worth his while is how many digits.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And we got to go in early. We can't wait. We got to snatch him up and get him signed.
Do you feel like at Nebraska, the number has got to be maybe higher than some other places based on the fact that it is Nebraska? Just a thought. Well, because again, if I'm going to pick another school, just because it, like you're talking about a school with some tradition, has never won one, right? Never got to that consistency. One that weather related, trying to get some kids that are like, it's cold there, man.
If my offer, and if I'm just using this as an example, if I'm getting an offer for, let's say, $750,000 from Nebraska, and then the next day I fly out to sunny Southern California, and they offer $750,000, and UCLA, you get to see the trophy cabinet. USC, you get to see the sunny weather, the beautiful campus. I'm looking at that, and I'm going,
well, that's different.
Dollars all the same.
But you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, like, it might be I don't know what the number is, but if you had a GM in place, they could give you market value based on the fact that regionally, and I mean, it's like salaries, right? It's like, if I live in Arizona, I'm going to make X doing this job. If I'm in Nebraska, I'm going to make this because of living and all this stuff that come with it.
I know it's a different sport, but Matt Rule hopped on Urban Meyer's podcast a couple weeks ago and said, I learned one thing in the NFL from free agency. It's not the need that sets the market. It's the desperate team. The desperate team sets the market for what you're going to have. And you have a lot of desperate teams this year in the NFL for line play. And you're seeing a lot of offensive linemen getting paid because people saw what the Eagles did. And now they're saying, I'm desperate to have a strong offensive line. The desperate team comes in and sets the market for what a guy's worth. I think the question is, can Nebraska be that desperate team on the basketball
set
court?
That mark.
You see it a little bit in football this year. I think they were the desperate team for a wide receiver, for an offensive lineman. They were the desperate team. They land these guys because they set the market. Can Nebraska basketball be the desperate team that can set the market for some of these guys? Because that's what I think you're going to need to do.
Well, you know, if all things are equal, facilities is going to come into play. When they come here to visit, I remember during the alumni weekend, and they had some football recruits in, and we were taking a tour of the new practice facility and all that good stuff over there, and we went up to the academic office, which is Taj Mahal compared to what we were. the training table we ate it. Yeah. We're
you had a bunch of toasters and that was it.
Yeah. And I remember Dennis LeBlanc had about 3 recruits with him, and first thing came to my mind, Nebraska still does it the right way. Mm-hmm. We still do it the right way through all this NIL, the transfer portal, the chance of folks leaving and things of that sort. We still do it the right way. We still care about the kids. And I've probably seen Dennis LeBlanc and Keith Zimmer more this year than I've seen them since I left the university. And I told Keith and Dennis how much of an impact they made in my life from not only an educational standpoint, but from a employment standpoint, because the reason why I'm at State Farm going on 37 years is because Keith Zimmer, came to me and said, here's some opportunities. I think you should give it a try. And I did. But the most importantly, they made sure that if we needed tutors, they were there. They made sure we studied for those 2 hours a day there. They monitored us. They stayed on us. And back then, we probably didn't appreciate it as much as we do now, because when you go in that study hall and you're tired, and all you think about doing is finding your bed. But no, that they made you. when things are tough is how you respond to it. And those guys taught us how to respond to adversity and how to study and how to prepare for life after basketball. And Derek, Vic, and I are two examples of what the university did for two former players. So I give them all the kudos. And at Nebraska, so I still think that is still going to play a key part in recruiting, but we still going to have the dollars. We might have to have the money, and
you got to show an investment.
Yes,
that's my overall thing. If you want to play that, if you want to be that or act like that or talk like that, you got to show the investment.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's just what it is.
Yeah.
And again, I know we have some people out there that in this NIL and portal, look, it's here.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, get out, because that's where you have to play.
Yeah.
They're all having to play like that.
Yeah.
We're just in Nebraska, right? But there's 300 other ones that are trying to figure this out.
Yeah. Well, and parents still want to see that part of it. Yeah, the money's good. Case in point, Quentin Rhymes were at the game, and I got a chance to talk to him and his dad before the game, and I could still see the glow in his eyes, in PBA, all this fanfare, and I can just tell the kid, very respectful. The dad played college basketball, and they're just bitten at the chops to get here. Like I said, I don't get involved with the NIL, how much they're getting paid. That's none of my business. But I know we have a good kid, the heir apparent of Bryce Williams coming in. He's about 6'7", very smooth. He'll be a freshman now, so it's going to be some growing pains there. But I guarantee you both that you would enjoy watching this kid play. So I was glad to see that kid there. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to make a game. He played in a prep school out there in Arizona, but it was just, my job and things I got going on. I just couldn't make it. And, but I was glad to see those two and got a chance to talk to them. And so I think the fans, I know for a fact, we got somebody joining mass next year, a freshman with a senior to put him under his wings and then see who, and then Sam will be back, with a couple of the walk-ons, but we got to hit that transfer portal hard. And go ahead.
Oh, I'll just say with that in mind, hitting the transfer portal hard, you got the potential for NIT college basketball crown at the end of the month.
Yes.
Would you be opposed to Nebraska sitting out of the tournament and just Fred going and spending his time going and hitting the transfer portal hard? If that's what it comes down to.
No, I think the kids deserve, after the way they finished, you don't want to finish on that note. If you got an opportunity to play in the NIT or the crown, and it looks like it's leaning more towards the crown. Looks from my understanding, they're going to take the top 16 teams that didn't make the tournament out of the Power 5 schools only. So I think we have a really good opportunity to play in Vegas, and I'm pretty positive the kids. I don't know. I mean, actually, I haven't even made it up there to talk to the coaching staff or any of the players this week yet, because I'm busy working, and I got 37 years coming, and I work like I was my day one. But I enjoy what I do. State Farm's been great to me, so I can't complain about that.
Well, man, look at this team, man. I tell you what impact made. Ryan 840 says, "Hola, mi amigos." He's out in Cancun, but he was not missing Henry T time.
That is awesome.
Good morning, Greg, as well. Yeah, that's an interesting take. It's one that I think you'll look at both sides. Obviously, I would be. You wonder if that comes down to a team vote.
Yeah, got to take the pulse of the team.
Take the pulse of the team if they want to play or not.
Yeah, they did with us with the NIT. I remember Coach Nee coming in to the study hall, and we were all there. Even after the season, we still had a mandatory 2-hour study, and the whole team was there. I remember Coach Nee coming in, and we didn't get a NCAA bid, but we got an NIT bid. Do you guys want to continue playing? Everybody said, heck yeah. So and I can't speak for these players of today's era, but I know back then it wouldn't even been a question. We didn't even hesitate.
Yeah. But yeah, you don't want it to be a Fred coming down heavy-handed saying, no, we're not playing. I want to hit the portal. If the kids want to play, they go out and play. I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, and I'm sure Coach Hoiberg is feeling it as well. And I know he's going to take a lot of the criticism and whether it's rightfully or wrongfully or however you want to say it. But it's just unfortunate, man, because this team was a lot better than how they finished, regardless of how talented the Big Ten was. And, when you look at, I've never seen a team that had so many one possession losses in 1 year, I just can't remember. And just to show you, we were right there on almost every game. And I know Bill and I went through a lot of games earlier, these one possession games that
Just the ones that make you throw up.
Yes. And
it's to me, it's the theme is, again, we talked about GM and coach, and this is a missed opportunity year.
Yes.
In a lot of ways. When you talk about one possessions or games you can't lose, or to me, and again, I think you can look back and go back, where was the most pivotal part of the Nebraska basketball season? And then again, it's here, but you can go back and look up 15 at Iowa.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go back to that moment and look how that team responded after that. I'm up 15 with 10 or 12, whatever the number was.
Yes.
You're like, I thought at that time, you hope that is not the one that you look back and go, that's what put us down.
Yeah.
Mentally.
Yep. But real quick, man, could I just want to give a shout out to Dale Avery. He lost one of his brothers, David Avery, a good friend of mine, is part of the nonprofit organization NASCAR that I'm involved with, and they buried him last Saturday, and I was hoping I could make it, and just let let Dale know I'm thinking about him, and then of course Junior Bridgman. Yesterday. Thoughts and prayers to his family.
For sure.
As well.
Hey, you guys hang out with us a little bit. I'll give you a little 5-6 minute here. We're going to get out of here. Have a great hump day. Catch you on a Thursday. We're going to stay. We're going to get out of here. Have a great hump day. Catch you on a Thursday.
Okay, we can keep it around here for a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to,
quickly here, I do want to get, before we move on from Husker basketball, I do want to play what Fred had to say on the radio show. I want to get T's reaction to this. So here's Fred Monday night on the Huskers radio network.
I promise you this: we are going to do everything in our power to put a consistent winner on the court. The sad thing is we're 1 or 2 games away from being in the NCAA tournament, and as heartbreaking as that Ohio State game was, there was several things that happened in that game where if they go our way or we get a call, then we might be in the tournament. And that's how fine of a line this business is, but we're not. And, that's at the end of the day, that's all that matters. So I promise you this, Husker Nation, we're going to do everything we can to get this thing back to where we are in the tournament, and we are going to be there consistently. This place means the world to me. I absolutely love it. I'm passionate about it. We've got staff right now that are out on the road recruiting. And, once the portal opens up, obviously we're going to be active in it. And, we're going to put a team on the court that's going to fit the values of Huskers. I think this team it was a hardworking team. We just did not close out games the way we needed to. And, we're going to do everything in our power to get this thing right and to get a consistent winner on the court.
I go back to that statement. I'm going to get your take, but it's the everything in our power part that I wonder what, in our power, yes, what's our budget? I just hear budget. I hear restraints.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear, I don't know what's the investment? And I like hearing that he loves the place. He ain't going anywhere.
And he does. And, I've been to his house and he talks about his grandfather, and he just, and I've seen to run into his family almost everywhere I go. I ran into his family at Brewski's one time with Johnny. I'm like, they're everywhere. But yes, he's out. He's talking to the donors, because he only has so much power, and he put power with transfer portal. So give me some money. I'll bring that product. And he says winners. He knows what it takes to win in this era.
He can coach.
Yes. He's a offensive genius. Nate is a phenomenal defensive player. Coach Ziegler, Coach Howard, those guys know what they're doing. Give them, and I'm like, these kids play their hearts out, and I still believe that, and I still believe that they were an NCAA team and a team who could have won our first game. Yes, I'm going to stick with that, but but I'm also man enough to say that I was wrong on my prediction, finishing in the top upper half and making NCAA and winning the first game. But I still stick with it. I still believe this team coulda, shoulda, and would have done it, but we didn't get the breaks. And I'm glad they brought up the Ohio State games, because I'm the last one that's going to whine about refereeing, because you make your breaks. But when you miss a travel, taking the ball out, you miss 2 technicals, a taunting call, and slammed. Not only this kid slammed the ball once, he slammed it twice. Those are automatic techs that was not called. They'll take granted it was at Ohio State home, but it doesn't make a difference. You are a referee. You're non-biased. You make the call. And that traveling was, I don't know what the refs were looking at. And the 2 techs, the taunting.
I know.
I've seen that call almost every game. I've seen that call the tech made.
It feels like hazing, doesn't it?
It is. And then
the freshman hazing, when we've been getting it since we got.
And then to slam the ball, that was all
different.
Yes. So, but again, we still had our chances to win that game, and we didn't, and so we got to live with that.
And sometimes I do see calls like that. It's different with Ohio State, because I see a call like that with Michigan State, and I go, you know what, that ref's probably been reffing Tom Izzo going on 20 years now.
Yep.
I get it a little bit. There is, as a guy who umpires baseball, sometimes you don't even think about it. There is probably intrinsic bias that comes into things that you don't even think about. You're not intentionally doing anything, but Ohio State, I mean, they've had a rotating door of head coaches through the years. It's not like these refs have a whole bunch of experience with what's doing at Ohio State.
Listen, Thad Matta,
other than their fans, because their coach, I remember watching him play. Diggler, it seemed like he just played a few years ago. It seems like I remember him coming off the bit, shooting those threes in the corner. I mean, he was a shooter. I remember it. I mean, just like yesterday, I'm like, God, when did he become a coach? You know, so what type of credibility that he has other than the Buckeyes? They just won the national championship in football.
Nothing.
Their fans are, you know, sometimes can be cocky, arrogant, and rowdy. And I don't know if that played a part, but you don't miss those calls.
No.
I mean, you just don't miss those calls. But I'll leave it at that. You know, we lost the game, and you know, but the obvious is the obvious. You can't ignore it, you know, because we probably missed some free throws in that game that probably would have shut it down as well. So, you know, in each and every game, because that's something that we did well. I mean, our turnovers, remember I always talked about 10 or less. We were turning the ball over. We just couldn't get the right stop, and teams were hitting free throws or hitting threes that they normally don't do. I mean, it seemed like we got the best from everyone, it seemed like.
In a season where you're this close, there's just so many little moments like that where it's officiating against Ohio State. It's getting back on defense on that final possession against Minnesota and getting a hand in the face of the shooter. It's going out there and not having, what is it, like a 3-minute scoring drought early in that first half against Penn State, where things start rolling against you and the momentum gets away from you. The 15-point lead that crumbles away against Iowa. In a season where you're this close to the tournament, there's so many little moments you look back on and think.
When I go back to that Iowa game, that's what started the 6-game skid.
Yep. And
we're talking about getting blown out of games too, because you weren't. I mean, you go Iowa, you're up 15, then you get blown out against Purdue. Anybody could see that coming after that loss, and then you lose by 3.
There's a couple shots that you got good looks against USC where you think if those go down from shooters that you think can knock it down. I mean, those next 3 games differently.
Yeah, those next 3 games you lost by a combined 11 points.
Yes. Yeah. And until Iowa's game, until that clock ran out, I believed we were going to the tournament until that was the final. That was when I finally said, okay, we're not going.
They had their chance.
Yes, I did. I mean, honestly,
because
I knew we were going to get Rutgers. I think we were going to play Rutgers. And I said, man, we're going to get these kids.
You talk about, did we underachieve or overachieve? I trying to think about that question, because I went back and I'm like, all right, were we predicted preseason to be in the tournament?
No.
Where did you end up at?
Right on the bubble though.
When we picked 12, were we picked 12 or were we picked
like in the Big 10?
Yeah, I thought we were picked like 12.
12.
Just I think it was 12th, 11th, 13th, somewhere in there. It was outside the top 10.
From I guess prediction level, but then the expectations rose. It's like Nebraska basketball, right? It's Nebraska sports.
On that first 6-game losing streak, I thought the team was underachieving. And by the time you get a second long losing streak, that's what makes me start thinking, okay, maybe they're a limited team that's overachieving. With a guy in Bryce Williams and Jawan Gary trying to do their best to will the team along.
Yes.
Yeah.
because you had the thing every time, almost every time.
If Nebraska won, Jawan and Bryce Williams combined for 40.
That's how they got wins. You go back and look at the season. They got wins based on the fact those two guys scored over 40 points combined.
Wow. Until that game that he scored 43 by himself.
Yeah. But that was, again, that's one of those where it's all we needed this year. And this is, I think, the portal and like how you construct your roster. Like, I think you need some, I don't even want to use that. You need some dogs.
Yes.
Let's just say that. You need some dudes that a Jawan Gary type bully attitude, right?
But
that want to mix it up and like get to the bucket.
If you want the positive feelings for the offseason, though, I think you have your front court in good order for next season. Yep. I think Rink Mass, getting him back will be big. Yep. You've seen the ability to go down to mid-majors and get a guy in Josiah Alec, a guy in Andrew Morgan. I think those guys are there for the taking. They're not the 7-footers, not the 6'11" guys that can score, but they're your glue guys. Mm-hmm. You can go find those kinds of guys in the portal. I think Burke is a good athlete. I think he probably needs to figure out what him and the coaching staff need to get together this offseason.
Who he needs to be.
And find out what he needs to be on the offensive end.
Yep.
Defensively, rebounding-wise, you love what he brings. Mm-hmm. Offensively, I think he just needs to settle in and figure out with the coaching staff exactly what his role needs to be next year so he can work on it, because throughout different times in the season, it felt like he was trying to do different things offensively, where at some points he's a 3-point shooter. Mm-hmm. At some points he's a guy that's trying to play back to the basket against smaller guys. Yep. Other times he's just running around setting screens. Like, I understand all those things have a value in basketball, but
find something you're good at.
Once he gets back next to Rink Mast, I think he can settle into an offensive role. And then guards are easier to find in the portal than those explosive big men that are game changers.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how Coach Hoiberg play those two, because they're identical players in a sense. They both shoot the three, they both rebound. They I think Burke is maybe a better ball handler per se, but Mass, I mean, they're just very similar players. But it's a good problem to have. So it'd be interesting to see what those, and then with the kid Quentin Rhymes coming in with those three, and with Sam's experience, so we got a good core right there. We just need to build and bring some, like you said, some dogs, bring some muscle in here.
Just athleticism 1-2.
And there's names in the portal. You got that. I know everyone in college basketball is gonna be after him, but you got Eagle Staff from North Dakota who put up 20+ points a year this year for North Dakota. 6'6", 6'7", somewhere in there, can fill it up. Dropped 51 in a game this year.
Saw that.
Like that's a dude. I know everyone's gonna want him, but he's a guy that North Dakota, for a transfer portal guy, that's in your backyard.
Yeah,
that's in your backyard. It's a guy that you got to go make a run at. There's a guard from South Dakota as well that I think averaged nearly 20 this year and like 5-6 assists a game. There's guys to be had. You just got to nail the evaluations and go get them.
But hey, I was sneaking the Big Ten. I still some of the players.
Hey, why not? Yeah, look around.
North Dakota,
this is the Wild West.
Yeah, I'll be calling up players from Michigan State, Michigan, UCLA. Hey,
let our people talk to your people.
Wild West, baby.
And let's not forget the Mavs. I know it's not Big Ten, but the Mavs with the run they made this year, I think there's some athletes there that you could have there as well.
Well, look at the kid that went to Michigan State.
Fiddler.
Yeah, Fiddler. Yes.
Good year this year.
Great year.
Good year this year.
Yeah, so no, I mean, I just think it's wide open, and here's the kicker. Nobody's off limits.
Nope.
Nobody's off limits. Because I'm sure they're gonna be going after, I've heard through the grapevine that a certain team is going after Connor.
Oh yeah.
So it's just gonna happen. And we just gotta get into the game. We can't be outside looking in, waiting on our turn. We just gotta get in there and mix it up and see what we can get. But we need to get the money to get the offers and get the players in. Because if all is equal, I think we win.
Agree. All right. You guys ready to bounce out? You got some more?
I'm just looking into Connors State Community College with the JUCO ruling. I think you can get one more year.
Yes.
A guy I love up in Omaha, Markel Sutton.
There you go.
6'9", big time athlete.
Okay.
I think he'd have to apply, but I think he'd get 1 year of eligibility should he enter the portal once Omaha's season.
Well, I told Coach Hoiberg, Derek Vick and I have a year.
Let's go. Let's go.
Come back and get our masters.
Rally up.
Come back and get our masters.
Yeah, rally up. Let's go.
Where's do we have averages here? I'm trying to find Sutton's average.
Greg asked also, I believe this. Yes, I think so. Does Connor's shooting percentage drop off because of needing more muscle? Yeah, I think he needs to get bigger.
Yes.
You got to be able to fight through the screens and stuff. Like you need a little more meat.
Yeah, and be able to push off a little bit. You can't, he can't. He can't get the
difference in him versus Bryce running through the middle.
Mhm.
Bryce can sustain those blows all year long because of the size.
Yeah,
and Connor gets knocked off the block pretty easy.
Yeah. And one thing I saw Connor and Derek Vick and I were talking about this. It seemed like when his shot was off, he was leaning left. Yeah,
falling. He's falling.
Yeah, he wasn't. But when he got his feet set and it was straight up and down, it was money in the bucket. But I think it was rushing, and because of the defender, because they were focused on him.
But when he got hot, he could get hot.
Yeah, when he got hot, he got hot.
What was the stat? I think Connor only finished the year like 15-3 short of what Casey put up in the regular season last year.
Oh my god!
Casey had like the Big Ten tournament run, plus he knocked down some threes in the tourney. But I think regular season numbers wise,
15 short.
He was like 15 short of what.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I mean,
he quietly did that.
The kid can flat out shoot it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's one of those guys that he sees one go down, and you'd bet that the next 2 or 3 are going down. Streaky like that, which a lot of 3-point shooters are.
Oh man, so all right, I'm getting out of here. Yeah, let's get out. You guys have a good Thursday. T's got to go do some one-on-ones.
Oh yeah,
he's got to work. He's here through Monday.
Though. Oh, I thought you meant on the court. I thought you
no one-on-one. He might later. It is going to be 75 today.
Hey, let me know about Friday.
Yes, I'll let you know.
Because we've just keep 3 because there's 3 of us.
Okay,
Mike Hansen and Kedrick Ford. So
you guys going golfing?
We might.
We try.
We're gonna have a Lutheran game on Friday morning as well. Yeah, so it could be if you want,
we'll do the hour. We need to do the hour again. Okay. Like, I hate not doing an hour. Okay, last week I felt weird. I mean, I was gone.
It's weird, yeah.
But it felt
I'm off that day too. I can probably sneak in too.
There you go.
It's possible. I just know I'm up against it with my hours, but another 45 minutes ain't.
But are you doing it Friday or is Justice?
I think Justice isn't ready because he was out sick on
Monday. Oh, that's right. I saw him.
And I need to check.
I saw you guys' show where it looked like he was like
he was trying to get his voice right because he's calling a lot for state basketball. So I need to check his state basketball schedule as well.
Either way,
if he's available. So.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You guys have a great Thursday.
Thanks for having me.
Wednesday. Elijah, I'll catch you tomorrow.
Always enjoy it. Y'all take care.